They say technology makes our lives easier. For work, to learn, to travel, to communicate. But there are things that machines cannot yet do. Things as important as engaging, putting themselves in your shoes, having intuition, or making intelligent decisions. In an increasingly technological world, we need professionals who provide intelligent solutions based on their know-how. Because there are things that technology cannot yet do for you. The human tech.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today, on the 16th of October, 2024, we have the privilege to have the President of Spain with regards to Brexpats in Spain, Richard Hill. I don't know if Richard could listen to us. Right, we have on the south part of Spain, Michael Davies. I don't know whether he's able to listen to us. Davies, Solicitors, Abogados. Hello, Michael. And then we have Pedro in the north part of Spain now. Pedro Heredia, international lawyer. Hello, Pedro.
Hello, Ignacio. Hello, everyone. Hello, Richard and Michael.
Right, well, today we're going to talk about interesting topics. I did put here in the chat a lot of information about EU residency permit, family reunification, quite interesting, non-lucrative visa, golden and Nomad visa. Then Richard is going to start covering a little bit about what has been discussed in Europe about the ETIAS for 2025, EES, and the new UK system, ETA. Obviously, certain things on that, Richard will explain, it hasn't been approved yet, so it's just information, but he could tell us as well what has been approved, especially in the UK. I could kindly ask you to please send us your questions now, tell us where you're contacting us from, and we're going to start over. I'm going to pass over Richard. If you could please start with an introduction of who you are and what is all this about ETIAS, EES, and UK system. Over to you, Richard.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard Hill. I'm the president of Brexpats in Spain. You can find us on Facebook. We are a support voluntary organisation, Brexpats in Spain International, and we run a number of regions, the southern region and the eastern region, Balearics, and the Canary Islands. And what we do is provide support and advice to people who wish to move to Spain or who are already living here. I'm going to talk to you today on three subjects, though I'm going to be very interested in the subjects that Ignacio and the others are going to be discussing, particularly family reunification. The subjects I'm going to be talking to you on are EES, ETIAS, and ETA. I'm going to start with EES, which is the European Entry System. Now, that particularly applies to tourists coming from the UK, not to residents. However, there is always a but. And the but is that if you haven't got a PIE, the plastic card, the biometric card, EES will apply to you and you will need to go through the EES system. Now, the British Embassy has advised us initially that there might be some delays at entry points, airports, ports, and Eurostar. They have changed that advice recently to there will be significant delays. So the advice that we have said from the very beginning when Brexit happened is get a TIE. I'm well aware that Spain has said there is no mandatory requirement to obtain a TIE. That still holds true. But the European entry system and ETIAS overrides that and requires a TIE to avoid having to go through the process. Now, initially, EES was meant to come in a few years ago. It has been delayed now nearly 5 times. The previous announcement was that it was going to come in October. That is now, or did change, to November the 10th. Then it moved to November the 17th. And now we are officially advised that it is going to be within the next couple of months. So the information I'm giving you at the moment is the information, official information, that we have to hand. It may change. There's no guarantees on this. The details, when you get an EES, are held on file for 3 years, meaning people who come backwards and forwards to Spain will only have to do it once in that 3-year period. To be exempt from the EES registration, British residents in Spain will need to show a valid uniform format biometric card, which is the TIE. So I cannot stress enough that getting a TIE is the only sensible option. We say it, the Spanish government say it, and the British Embassy say exactly the same thing. So I strongly recommend that you get a TIE. Now, if we assume, rightly or wrongly, that it comes in the next couple of months, that will be followed by ETIAS, which is the European Travel Authorization System. Now, that relies on EES. So if EES is delayed, ETIAS will be delayed. I can tell you that one of the reasons for these delays is that EES and ETIAS require all countries in the Schengen zone to come online at the same time. And some countries are not ready, including, surprisingly, Germany. Now, it needs to be made clear that the A4 sheet or the green card are not suitable for EES or ETIAS. You therefore, I keep repeating this because it's so important, you need to get a TIE card. Now, you may wonder why I am saying this. There is a catch with all of this. For EES and ETIAS, it is country specific. So you don't need EES or ETIAS if you are coming to Spain from the UK and you hold a TIE residencia in Spain. But let us assume that you come through Eurostar and you intend to travel down through France into Spain. You do require an EES or ETIAS, even if you've got a TIE, because the TIE is specific to Spain. If you go to another country, and please don't ask me because I haven't got a clue how this is going to work. If you go to another country, say France, in theory, you are required to provide EES and ETIAS. But as we all know, at the moment, there are no borders patrolled between France and Spain. So figure that one out for yourself. It's not a problem. The ETIAS application process is done online. It is very simple. You will need to prove where you're going, how long you intend to stay, and that you've got money to survive over here. It's going to cost you €7, and they will only accept payment from your debit or credit card. You should receive approval within minutes. But there may be times, if you've got a criminal record or if there is some sort of adverse record held on you, maybe drugs misuse or whatever, there may be a delay. And it's valid for 3 years. The advice given by the British Embassy is to apply for the ETIAS sooner than later. In theory, the ETIAS comes in the first quarter of 2025. I have to say that will depend when EES comes in. So things are a bit up in the air. And the final one is ETA. Now, ETA is the electronic travel authorisation used by the UK. Now, again, if you've got residence here in Spain, but you are still a British passport holder, it does not apply to you. You don't need to worry about it. If you are married or your spouse or you're cohabiting or whatever with somebody from a foreign country, and that would include Spain, and they are going to the UK with you, they do require it. And they would be allowed to spend up to 6 months in the UK for tourism, visiting friends, family, business or study. They can also spend up to 3 months in the UK on a creative worker visa concession, which frankly, I'm sure not many people have heard of. I certainly haven't. And they are also, it's for transit through the UK. It's valid for 2 years, not 3. But if you get a new passport in that time, the same as ETIAS, the same as EES, you need to do it again. So if you change your passport, you've got to change your EES. If you've got a British or Irish passport, you don't need it for the ETA. You don't need it if you've already got permission to live, work or study in the UK. But if you have taken out Spanish citizenship and given up your British passport, in other words, not renewed it, you will need it. So finally, I'll give you the dates on ETA. From November 23, so this is already in force. It was introduced for travellers from various countries in the Middle East, and it replaces the electronic visa waiver, which some of you may remember. From the 22nd of February this year, it was extended to nationals from Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. From the 8th of January 2025, travellers eligible from non-European countries will need an ETA. Applications for that will open on the 27th of November this year. Finally, the dates for us in Spain are the 2nd of April 2025, when European travellers will require an ETA. So that's it. If there are any questions on this, quite happy to take them. But please bear in mind, this is the information that we have now. It doesn't mean it's not going to change. It's already changed a few times over the last couple of years. But that is the official information that is available at the moment. Back to you, Ignacio.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much for the introduction about the updates on what Europe is bringing or proposing to bring, and eventually it might come into force, and the UK. Now, this is just, we thought it will be useful for you to know what might be coming in the future, what it is. We just attach here some links in Europe for you to just look through a little bit more about. Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that has been approved already is the ETA, yeah? Is that correct? That's the only one that has been approved, and that's been by the UK, correct?
Well, that is correct. ETA is the only one that's in operation. Technically, both the other ones have been approved by all the European countries, but are not in operation yet.
Okay, so it's being approved, but it's not in operation yet in the UK, correct?
The UK one, ETA, the outline has been approved and is in operation for some countries.
Okay.
For Spain, it comes into operation. Hang on a minute, let me just get my dates absolutely right. 2nd of April 2025. Okay, so you've got 6 months.
Right. Okay, well, I'm sure Richard will be updating our community about when it comes into force, and we will give him a little bit more of information about it. Now, we're going to just go back to immigration. Obviously, here we're talking about all the way through, you coming from abroad and you want to have a residency permit. We were talking about family reunification and options like non-lucrative, golden, and Nomad visa. Obviously, there are a big variety of subject here to discuss, but briefly, let me just brief you a little bit on topics. If you are pre-Brexit and you could prove you became a resident here, obviously we're still on time to submit it. If you've never done, obviously it's more and more difficult because it's a matter of evidence and we might end up going through the courts. But the bottom line here is EU residency permit for people who've been living before Brexit, British national, that's still possible, even though I might say is becoming more and more difficult and depends on the city where you are contacting us from. It's not the same one office than the other, even though the law applies the same. Now, if you are contacting us from a European country, if you're staying here in Spain for more than 3 months, you're entitled to apply for residency permit. And obviously, what we will need from you will be the insurance policy. The non-criminal records is not required because all these records are shared between the countries. And then have money in the bank. Okay, there is a minimum depending on family members. And you need to register yourself in the Padron and you will get this residency permit. That still is a green card, okay, as in the old days we used to have for British, that now changed into TIA because of a non-European country. I know Richard just brought a topic about family reunification, okay, and then let's jump into a different scenario. We are European and my family or my husband or my wife is non-European. That's possible. The European might apply residency for the family member, right? And obviously needs to prove financial means. Obviously, if you have the S1 health insurance and money in the bank, obviously enough money, health, and obviously the patron that is living with you, okay? The minimum money in the bank that in this region in Alicante are requesting in this case, husband, wife, husband is 12,000 euros for a minimum of 6 months, okay? That is going through, is not a problem. Even still, if one British national with a residency permit pre-Brexit makes an application for the husband or wife who was not at the time, and that's what I call family reunification as well, is being accepted. There is some cities that they are still rejecting, but probably because they don't know well enough, but we are dealing with these cases. Now, Richard brought another topic that in his association, a lot of questions are coming through, which are people, elderly people with family members and they need carers, right? So he brought the points about what about, I want to bring my children to Spain to look after me, right? At the moment, there is not a visa or a residency permit for elderly people bringing their children. Their children, non-European country, should apply for example, a non-lucrative visa. There is not a way around it. If the parents are trying to bring the children, unless these children, obviously with no jobs, because the children could apply for non-lucrative visa, golden visa, nomad visa, student visa, etc., but not because your parents need you to look after them, you will get a visa. That's the answer to one of the topics that Brexpats in Spain brought up to us. Now, there is another option, is that the children want to bring their parents in Spain, and that's possible. So children, they could, we call it family reunification, from children bringing their parents, okay? And this is similar, but husband bringing, covering a non-European husband with a European wife, or the other way around. So if you're having that need to come over here and you look after them, that's possible, okay? Obviously, one of the important requirements here are that the applicant must be in Spain for more than 5 years. Obviously, health insurance, a certificate from the doctor saying the illness that they have, minimum 12,000 euros in the bank, okay, and then obviously proving that are family members, okay. So this is the other option, Richard, that that you were asking about. Now, then the only other option I find here, Richard, will be the non-lucrative visa. Obviously, as I said, non-lucrative visa, golden visa, nomad visa, which now Pedro is going to explain briefly the 3 types of visas that could be as an option. Okay. Now, and then after that, we're going to just answer questions, see whether we have enough time. Pedro, I'm going to pass over to you, whether you could briefly explain the audience briefly the different types of non-lucrative, golden, and nomad. Obviously, the student visa, I spoke to Richard this morning. Student visa is one of the easiest visas to come over here, but there is a minimum requirement of you joining school and learning Spanish, or bringing your children and your children learning the language, and then change it over, because once you're in Spain, you could apply for work visa or for a non-lucrative, or non-lucrative visa has to be from the home country, but you could just apply for a nomad visa or a golden visa, or just simply a work visa. Even you want to set up yourself as a business, autonomo or self-employed, and you could still do that. Right, without going too much into details, I'm going to pass over to Pedro, and he could briefly tell you bits and pieces on these 3 type of visas. Over to you, Pedro, and the microphone should be on, please.
Okay, thank you, Ignacio and Richard. It's been fantastic information that you've given. I have some queries. I mean, obviously, I've been reading about this exit entry system a little bit, and it's obviously, I understand it's going to be increase the efficiency of the management by this the airports or the ports, and obviously going to control more the immigration. And there is one thing that I think it was said that it will be identifying everyone. I mean, all the travelers who go in this case to entry in Spain that has or who have no right to enter Spain, obviously will be identified. As I understand that now, obviously with the passports stamps, and maybe some of them are identified, but now it's going to be very rapid, very automatic. I understand that this will happen. And obviously, if someone that are using like fake identities or fake passports, obviously those one I understand will be identified rapidly, or at least will be more difficult for them to enter in Spain. And obviously, for those kind of persons that, in order to prevent people to enter in Spain about this, has committed serious crimes that are looking for Interpol or this kind of police. One of the issues that Richard said is I was concerned, and he explained to me before. And what happens if you someone refuses? Okay, I don't want to to be made a fingerprints scanned or a photo on your of our face taken. What if I don't want to be identified? Well, as I understand is if you refuse to do that, I think it was a word as a biometric data. If you refuse to do that, obviously you will be rejected. You will be denied entry into the territory of this country. I think it's a particularly on Ireland and Cyprus. I think they're still going to keep doing like a hand stamp in the passport. But if obviously it's gonna identify one of the issues of I would say of all the immigration applications that we made in Lucrative Visa or any other one, is that you must be legal in Spain whenever we made this application. So obviously in these circumstances, there's one of these requirements, even though when we made the application on the passport, we check that you are legal in Spain and you are perfectly legal. There is no open file against you, even though you're outside. That requirement also is going to be, well, I would say more, we will have to check that. I mean, the clients that whenever we are going to represent in applying for immigration issues, I mean, will be an obligation to check that everything is correct on that side. Well, Ignacio, regarding the visa that when we represent clients that come to Spain, normally, I mean, people want to retire. Obviously, the non-lucrative visa is the one who fits to those people. Once they retire, have enough funds to live in Spain, they can buy a property or not. They can come here to rent and they maybe to buy. And well, that's perfect. I mean, it is a retiring visa. Non-lucrative visa is really a retiring visa. Obviously, also we have represented people who is still young, from 40s or 50, but normally it's people who retire, really. And other country, not European Union country. And the authorization to be resident is applied in the Spanish consulate in the country where he's resident. So it starts really outside of Spain, and it takes some time. It takes that whenever you make the application, the Spanish consulate has at least 3 months in order to make a resolution, then gives you a period of time of 1 month to collect the visa, and then gives you 90 days to enter in Spain with a visa. So it may take between 3 and 5 months. Many documents, or most important documents, is you don't have to have criminal records. If you read in many pages in websites, and you may think, okay, well, it says criminal records in the last 5 years. Well, it's not like that, exactly like that. Maybe it's not well informed. It's no criminal record in the countries where you've been living in the last 5 years. If you've been living in the last 5 years in the UK, and obviously before that you were in Thailand and you had some criminal records there, well, we apply for report on criminal reports on the country where you've been living in the last 5 years. What if you appears an offense, a crime record in a country you've been in the last 5 years, and that record is from 20 years ago? Well, that would be an issue, that a big argument for the administration to reject it, even though the offense is recorded many years ago. In the UK, I understand some years ago it was changed. Before that, you could cancel the criminal records, but now I think it expires in 99 years or 100 years, something like that. There are some issues, some specifications that you can do in order to have an argument to jump into this criminal record that appears in the certification. But it's something that is important. Criminal records, sufficient amount of money. I mean, financial means, enough money to live in Spain, which normally for one person is around 29,000 euros, and any family member around 7,200, 7,500 euros minimum per year. It's not a payment. It is just you need to show that you have this money and you have access to this money. And the money do not have to be in Spain, could be also in a different country. At the end, you need to show that you have access to that money. Okay. And then the other, I mean, obviously when it's a marriage or children, obviously the marriage certificate, the birth certificate, everything has to be in Spanish. Everything needs to be legalized in any public document. It says a marriage or criminal record needs to be legalized with the apostille of the Hague Convention. And that most of the countries in the world have this. and then criminal records and financial means that you have enough money to live in Spain, and as well private insurance in case that you don't have access to the public system in your country of origin, and then or public system in order to private system or private health policy to have access to the private system on health or the public issue. Normally it starts always everyone with a private insurance for the first year, and after 1 year living in Spain, you have the right to enter in the public system, which also has a fee. It's not free, but it's a fee that normally it could be compared with the private fee. By the way, the public system, maybe Rita can tell me a lot better, but the public system works very well in Spain. Works very well. This is what our clients tell us all the time. Anyway, this is the non-lucrative visa for retiring visa. Then we have a golden visa. Golden visa is investment visa. I think I've read someone if it's going to be rejected or eliminated. It's been announced that it's going to be eliminated. It's been announced that there's some written about elimination of this. I don't think that it will happen soon, but I don't have a crystal ball to predict when it's going to happen. I have in the chat, I've seen that someone says a date. I haven't seen any date at all. I don't think that it will happen maybe until next year. But I think that this is really a curtain that is made by the government in order to not to talk about other things that are really important. The arguments are really weak in order to eliminate it, but I don't have a crystal ball. At this time, it's been obviously an increase, a big increase on application of golden visa, because those ones who invest on properties after 2013, and those ones who are at this time investing also in properties are still available in order to get this access to the golden visa. If you live in Spain with the golden visa or the nomad visa also as well, you can apply while you are in Spain, and the authorization to be resident in Spain is for 3 years time. If you do it in your Spanish consulate, you could do it also there. It could be 1 year and then renew or up to 3 years. You will have access to the permanent. Once you live 5 years in Spain, you have access to the permanent residency for 5 years. And briefly about the nomad visa, I have spoken about the non-lucrative visa, golden visa. Well, golden visa is an investment, 500,000 euros minimum on property. There are some other investments like deposits is 1 million euros, Spanish debt at 2 million euros, investment funds 1 million, companies buying companies in Spain at least 1 million euros investment. Well, there are some investments. We predict or we understand that maybe the property investment visa, it will be increased to 1 million euros, but this is just something that people is saying about this. And the nomad visa has been, at this time when it was approved, I think it's about a year ago, almost a year ago, it has a big attraction. Spain is receiving a lot of people that wants to establish here families, or people wants to work remotely. And a nomad visa is very attractive, I have to say, very flexible. You can be an employee of a company outside. You can come here to Spain as an employee, and you have to show at least, it's not too much, around 2,500 euros per month salary or payrolls. You have to show the last 3 months payrolls. The company existence must be at least 1 year. So the requirements are really soft. And you as an employee, you have to show that at least you've been working in or a self-employment, you've been working in that field or at least 3 years, or you can show a training or masters on a reputable school on this. This is very, the requirements are really soft on the nomad visa, but it's one issue on one information. It is not just for the nomad visa people that want to apply for and works here remotely in Spain. Obviously, we need that authorization by the company, a letter that the work you do is a work that you can do remotely, or if you are self-employment, a letter from a client that you will be able to work remotely. Well, there are really soft requirements in these cases. And but it's important about taxes, because those were not just non-European Union residents, but also the European Union residents that want to enter into Spain. Well, in Spain, we have immigration applications is really if you are a European Union citizen or if you are not European Union citizen. But anyone that comes to Spain as an employee of a company, as an employee of a company, if you are self-employment, do not count. If you're an employee of a company, you will be able to get access to a special benefit on taxes as if you were non-resident for tax purposes. And you will just be charged or taxed maximum will be a fixed percentage, which is 24% of your salary that you get while you are working in Spain on a company abroad. So you will not pay any tax according to any investment withdrawal that you have outside, any interest or dividend that you have in any capital gain that because you bought and sold or you withdraw a fund and then you change the fund into another fund. Well, those things will not be at all showed and informed to pay taxes in Spain. You will just pay 24% salary as a non-resident. Even though you are resident, you will be treated as a non-resident for tax purposes. I think, Ignacio, just to start, I think it's going to be enough. I mean, Lucrative Visa is been approved many years ago and is for retiring. Nomad Visa has a big attraction, obviously, and now I think it's going to increase in the following years. We are receiving a lot of self-employment, a lot of employees, a lot of companies that wants to also install and get a branch. But as you said, there are also some different kind of visas. There are entrepreneur projects that also could be entering in a way that in order to get access to Spain, branch, offices, representation offices by companies that want to obviously start in Spain that has also a door in order to get access to residency for those who hold these companies.
Okay, thank you very much, Pedro. Thank you for your explanation. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of questions. Actually, in the panel is pretty much full. Now, let me see whether Michael can listen to us because he's having some technical problems. I don't know whether he can make it. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Ignacio. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. You
Okay.
are in Andalusia yet? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually in a coffee shop at the moment, connected with my mobile phone. So.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Michael, is there anything you would like to add from your? I know you deal with a lot of inheritance and golden visa as well. Is there anything you would like to add on top of what Richard and Pedro mentioned, or shall we just jump into questions and answers?
Well, on the subject that you're talking about today, the only thing that sort of comes to mind is the business of the golden visa. I've seen in the chat somebody asking, is it true that they finished with the golden visa on the 21st of October? Well, like Pedro, I have not actually heard of any finishing date for the golden visa at all. We've only heard the Prime Minister say a few months ago that he's planning to get rid of the golden visa, but it hasn't happened yet. In fact, we're presenting more petitions now than ever before. The only thing, as I would say, is what we say to clients is, if they're going to buy a property now with the sole intention of obtaining a golden visa, nobody's going to secure that by the time they reach the requirement, it hasn't been cancelled. But as of today, you can still put the request in. I think it's strange that we're at this point today with the TIE cards, because I see that Richard's there with us, and we've participated on panels before when during the year when we were just about to leave, when the transition and when we were all getting ready. And I still remember the official position of the Spanish government was it's not obligatory to change a green card for a TIE card. The British consul said it wasn't obligatory. That we were trying to explain, Richard, you, me, we all thought that the absolutely logical thing to do was to request a TIE card and not sort of, there's all people just say, well, why should I? I don't have to. It's not obligatory. But we could all see that it was going to cause problems because the Spanish identification card, it's got biometrics on it. The little green card does not. We could all just see one day it was going to be a problem. So here we are now. Was it 2 years later? And there's a big rush towards the TIE cards. And there's still one last thing, which has got something a little bit to do with this. On the back of Brexit, quite a few people, amongst them myself, became Spanish nationals to avoid all these problems. And as somebody that deals with inheritance all the time, It's now surfaced up a couple of times, before. Remember that Spanish people have got a system of obligatory heirs, and you can't leave everything to your spouse if you have children. If you're a British national, you can choose your English law or your Spanish will and not be subject to the Spanish system of obligatory heirs. But if you become Spanish, it doesn't matter how unfair you think it is. If you become Spanish, Spanish doesn't admit double nationality. You would have to abide by the Spanish system of obligatory heirs like any other Spaniard, and basically leave 2/3 of your estate down towards your children. That's it.
Okay, Michael. Thank you very much. Richard, yes, please, over to you.
I'm just, sorry about that, to turn the microphone on. Two questions, please, for Pedro. This only applies for British people, Pedro, but as I understand it, if they're going for a non-lucrative visa and they are pensionable age, they don't have to get private health insurance. They can use their S1 to guarantee their health care. That's as I understand it. And the second question, a non-lucrative visa means you can't work, but many people come out here and they buy property which is rented out. Is that legal? They're not working, so they are. They've got a rental business, So, can I ask you those two questions, please, Pedro?
Yeah, Richard. Let me answer you the second one, if I understood. I mean, is people that comes here to Spain with a non-lucrative visa, and apart from their rental, they also buy a property and they rent this property to some tenants, like a touristic license or a temporary contract or long-term contract. Is that right? Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Is not a job. Is like an income they're getting as an investment. It's not. They are fully authorized to do this way. Okay. Sure. Even though I would say there are some situations where you can, let's say, you can get access to the system of a value-added tax, where it's brand new properties and you intend or leave this property to some companies, management companies, in order to manage the property in order to be rented in let's say a touristic way. So when you do that, you have access to get back the value-added tax paid to the developer, and also obviously your invoices to the agent also is included a value-added tax in this case. So you enter in a value-added tax system, which means that you enter in an economic platform, let's say that. But you are not really working on that. So in those cases, I also understand. I also understand in this case that it's not, you are, even though you have a non-lucrative visa, you also correct in order to do this kind of business. And the first question, let me if I understood, you say about can you repeat again, is about the S1 rights?
Yeah, the S1 is the form that you can obtain from the UK where they pay a sum of money to Spain. I believe it's about 4,000 euros per annum for your health care, which you submit to Social Security.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that you can use that form to prove your health care in Spain.
Yes, absolutely. You could do it with a private insurance, but also even if you have the right to obtain this S1 from your origin country, that's fantastic. You could make the application with the S1. Absolutely. And then between countries, I mean, obviously there's a convention between countries that you said, I didn't know that figure about this 4,000 euros, but I understand that whatever cost that we may have, it will be some compensation between countries. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Ignacio, Pedro.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, shall we just start? Well, let's get, I mean, I know Aaron is asking questions. I mean, the beauty of here, if we could call it this way, is that if you have different nationalities, like Aaron, like you were saying, British and Italian, then obviously, first thing we need to do is register the Italian as a resident. So after 3 months coming to Spain, having all the paperwork, register the Italian citizen as a resident, And then after that, well, to be honest, my advice would be to have it already pretty much here. So what I would do, just to open a bank account, register in the Padron, put the 12,000 euros minimum in the bank account, health insurance, and then apply for the European resident. And after that, in Alicante, they're quite flexible, but it depends on where you're moving. If you're moving to somewhere else, we'll have to check. But in general terms, it's 6 months from you need to be minimum in Spain with the money to apply for the married couple, for the British, like what we call family reunification. So that means one of the couple are Italian, the other one is British, because one is European, we could get the residency. So the documents that you will need eventually, obviously, is the money, is the health insurance, and then obviously register in the Padron. Obviously, in this case, you don't need a non-criminal records for the European, and this is the best way. So for those who in the family members you have Europeans, don't forget, this is the fastest and cheapest route to go. Okay, so this is where regards. Now, I don't know if Pedro or Michael did pick the right question for them to answer. Now, Leo is saying here that he applied for nationality 1 year and a half. I think Michael, I think yours took at least 1 year and a half, didn't it?
Yes, it took. I don't know, because it took me over a year to get the actual concession, but then it can take another year to actually do the jura at the notary or at the civil register. So it's about 1 year later is when they issue a document that says that you've got the right to become national. So you sort of think that you're going to, well, I knew it wasn't going to be the case. Basically, people think, well, then I've got that document. Within 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be going and doing the jura, and that's the end of it. Well, it took me another year from that moment. So in total, it took me about almost 2 years.
Right. Actually, the average time that we are having here is 2 years, 2 years and a half, but it really depends on the person who deals with your file in Madrid. So we are having cases already more than 1 year and a half, Leo. So I wouldn't be. Now, people applying for nationality, I will always recommend them to not be in a rush, because this is something that takes a long time. Okay. So it needs a lot of planning. It needs a lot of planning.
So Ignacio, on that, there is one little thing to this person. It is a bit like a black hole. In other words, they're asking, is there any way I can check how it's going and things like this? Well, there is like a page. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head now, but there is a page where you can check. And basically, it's got 3 steps, and it's always on the. And it's always on that third step it says in process, so it doesn't really help. It's not very helpful, and I didn't find any other way of finding out where it was, so that I just had to sort of live with that. So you get to the point where you think, well, is it working, not working? But it does come through in the end.
Right. Okay. Joy is asking question here is more about tax. Well, good question here, Joy. Is from the UK, has been in the US. Both citizens, okay, and they don't want to pay Spanish tax. So my understanding is it is they don't want to become resident, right, fiscal resident for obvious reasons, because it's a legal and cheaper way to do a different way around. So my recommendation here in this case is to go for the golden visa, Joy, trying to be less than 183 days in Spain. If you buy a property in Spain, just pay for the non-resident tax in Spain only for the property. We might be very minimum, less than probably council tax for the property. So you have the state tax for non-resident and the council tax, and that's the way. But don't go over 183 days, especially about what Richard just introduced here is all the passport controls that we will be having very soon. And I think that will be a strong tool for the tax office, for the immigration office. So we're all going to be very much control on the exact date. But the bottom line, Joy, if you want to have a visa and you want to pay non-resident tax, or probably no tax because you don't have any investment or a property, the only way forward is to stay less than 183 days. And it will only depend whether you have property or not, whether you're going to pay non-resident tax. I don't know if Pedro or Michael have anything here picked up from the panel, Michael, Pedro, or Richard, do you have any other questions that you selected that you would like to intervene? Now, Richard. Michael, do you have any other?
No, not sure. Only that just basically to say I don't handle TIE cards myself, so in our company, so we're not suspicious of trying to get the work. Without any doubt, we've been saying this from the moment that Brexit happened, is don't rely on a little green card or the green certificate. Just go straight for the TIE card. That's what you need to get, and the sooner you get it and get it out of the way, the better. Because I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a big rush towards the end, and everyone's going to be requesting these TIE cards, and then suddenly it's going to take much longer.
Okay, Pedro, anything else you would like to just comment here, or just shall we do a summary now of what we recommend now?
No, well, just to there are some questions that probably could be answered. Let me just check any of them. But just to summarize really what is being said by Richard, or this good explanation about the entry-exit system and the ETIAS, ETIAS, and obviously is gonna increase obviously to prevent any irregularity, any situation where someone may enter illegally in Spain, or someone which is illegal in Spain and goes out and maybe opens a file. I mean, those situations are going to be a lot more accurate now. So, and I think I think it will increase obviously this management of migration flows between Spain and some other countries. Probably, I don't know if it could be compared by when you enter in the US, for example, you have to fill up this ESTA. I remember, Ignacio, you remember both of us when we went many years ago to an international advocacy conference in Miami, where we were in a queue. We were like 4 or 5 lawyers in a queue in immigration once we enter in the Miami International Airport, and one of us was stopped. Obviously, in the plane, we fill up our names and all the details that they apply for, and one of us was stopped. And then we told the guy, okay, we wait outside, and we were waiting around 4 or 5 hours outside. And then when this guy went out, he said they thought I was a Colombian drug dealer because he had the same name and surname, exactly the same name and surname. So I understand that with this biometric, these fingerprints, all these things, these kind of situations that happen many times in the airports will be stopped. Obviously, we'll filter people who have a fake identities. We filter everything. Obviously, everyone is going to be recorded in some ways. This is the other way that in the AET, this system, obviously the protection data has a big information about this. So everyone who wants to protect the data, obviously, will have to read this and take this carefully. I think it's important. And nothing else, Ignacio, we will obviously be checking and studying these situations in the near future. Everyone will have to check this in the near future, and well, let's see.
Okay, Pedro, thank you very much. We have a very last question here about golden visa. I don't know, Pedro, you mentioned, but Sarah's asking about the timing. If she bought the property after 2013, right, the escritura value will be enough for golden visa. Okay, so obviously you could apply for a non-lucrative visa, but if you bought the property, for those who bought a property after 2013, this investment will be taken into account. Okay, bear in mind, if the property is in joint names, the value is 50 and 50, or presumably on the title deed it will say 50 and 50. So So this is something that we will have to check to know whether you have enough investment to qualify and meet the requirements for the golden visa. Now, I still encourage people, for those who are buying a property in Spain and they could take advantage of the 500,000 euros minimum investment, I still encourage people to do it sooner rather than later if they're really buying a property in Spain and they seek advice. Okay, we can assist you with that eventually. If you have questions, we're happy to do a video conference. And even though all this video is going to be recorded, because some people are asking whether it's going to be recorded or not, yes, it is. It will be from tomorrow, and I'm sure Richard will just share it as well in their own media as well. Now, I will be willing to, for those who have specific questions, to discuss it with them, either personally in the office or through a video conference. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Michael, Richard, Pedro. Yeah.
Just to clarify, because we receive lots of emails because of this about the golden visa, and some of the mistakes that we see that people make very often is, one is the one that you just said, because we know that the investment can be from 2013 onwards. So one of the mistakes is always what you just said, that they bought it in joint names and therefore we can only assign half to each, so they think they can do the whole thing. The other one is that they need to realize that it's on the equity in the property. So they bought between the two of them a villa worth 1,100,000, but they bought it with a 300,000 mortgage. We go half on the equity, and it's not enough either. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh yes, and the other thing is, a lot of people are confused. It's not. They say, "Oh, well, I bought a property, for 700,000. Sorry, I bought a property for 700,000 in joint names in 2015. Now it's worth €1.5 million. So there's more than 500,000 euro each." No, it's not the value it's worth now. It's always the pure investment that you made at the time of the purchase. Those three things are the things that we see a lot of sort of emails asking where they qualify, and they don't because they've got one of those three things wrong.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. Pedro, is anything else you want to add here?
Ignacio, anything else I think has been everything briefly explained is okay. And thank you very much, Rita, for joining us today and explaining us about this new thing that is going to be very important in now and in the near future. And well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Pedro. Again, if you want to learn more about it, about immigration issues, I just share with you some web pages for you to look through. Whatever Richard said here is being published in official pages, which I share it with you for your perusal and your understanding. Obviously, if you have specific questions about taxes or any others, we could discuss it in a different state. Sorry, we're running out of time. We really need to go. Thank you all for your patience, Richard, Michael, Pedro, and hopefully see you next week that we're going to hold another webinar about transferring money and moving to Spain and buying a property over here. Thank you. Over to Juan Fran. Thank you.
Ignacio.
Bye, Richard.
You're new to Spain and in need of legal help. When you're in a country that is foreign to you, you want someone who speaks your language, who understands you, and who will have an answer to all immigration and nationality matters. At Pellicer and Heredia, you can count on a specialist in international law and a multidisciplinary team that can help you handle all the necessary formalities. Do you want to take advantage of the Golden Visa program? We will help you obtain the residence visa for investors through the purchase of a property or via a business project that you're looking to develop in Spain. Do you need a residence permit? Obtain it for non-profit purposes or through family, work, study, research and training purposes. If, on the other hand, what you are looking for is a renewal, we take care of the whole process, so all you need to do is leave your fingerprint. We also deal with re-entry permits in the case that you want to leave and return to Spain. And of course, we help you obtain the certificate of registration as a European citizen, the foreigner's identity number. Spanish citizenship, and the certified translation of documents in all languages. Because at Pellicer and Heredia, we know that speaking your language is the only way to gain your confidence. Trust that we repay with 2 words: professionalism and commitment. Pellicer and Heredia, international lawyers.